the thing. That might have been one of the most painful because it's obviously a core memory. You bring it back and you can bring up the situation. You know where she was sitting.
Right.
You know what she said. What she said back and what you said to her, potentially a little bit of that. But that probably taught you more in that one failure than you ever got out of any of the successes when you stood at that gas station pump and you said, hey, man, are you looking to get into a business? And the guy's like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And he got involved in your business. You learned more from the embarrassment and the core memory of like, okay, don't do that. You know, that's not where I need to go. And I still learn that. I probably learn that 10 times a year where I'm like, okay, too far, spoke too fast, did too many things that were out of character, or I was trying too hard. And that's, you know, over the last 8 years being in real estate, the nice part about being as successful as I've been is the ability to now go into deals that are $2, $3, $4 million transactions with full confidence.
Yeah.
Knowing that I can not only speak with these people, but I'm on their level, that I understand what they think, and their demeanor is able to be watched and observed to where I'm like, okay, this guy's really hyper aggressive, or this guy's extremely relaxed and talks very pensive and he's held back. That way I can adapt to that conversation.
You've had so much exposure to so many different types of personalities.
Yeah, now did I think I'd be further at 50 years old? Absolutely.
You're 50?
Yeah, I'll be 50 in 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I saw you an hour ago, you look like you haven't aged, man.
I appreciate
not
that.
trying to
Especially
toot
with all
your
those
horn.
kids, man. I got there's a little bit of gray in the beard on the edge.
There's no dye in there?
No, man. No, there's no dye in my beard at all.
All right, we're gonna have to talk hell secrets.
I get that one a lot though. People are like, there's no gray in your beard. How do you do it? Honestly, my mom's 80. She looks like she's 60, and my dad he passed away when he was 80, but he didn't look 80 when he died.
So good genetics. No,
yeah, I think it's a benefit.
I use some of that simply whatever. I saw it on Instagram, and it's just a quick thing that you brush in.
Yeah.
And I did it the other day, and I thought I'd rinsed it all out, and apparently I didn't because I fell asleep and I woke up and my pillow is just, we just bought brand new sheets, brand new towels, and like the towels all brown.
Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. I mean, we all try to stay young, you know. Now they're touting beef tallow all over the place. Every time I go through my Instagram,
there's always
like,
something.
Throw some beef tallow on your face. I'm like, hey, I get it. I'll try it. I'll do it. You know, one time, see how it works.
That's awesome.
You know?
Yeah, no, you look the same as I remember it.
I appreciate that.
It's been a long time. So, I guess if thinking back about Amway again, I think the biggest takeaway that I took from it was. I don't want to say this as a negative way. What not to do. I learned what not to do, and that served me pretty well over the years. So.
I think that I tell my kids this all the time, that you learn far more from your failure, and don't be afraid to fail. Because my kid, one of my kids came home. He's like, "Man, I got a C on my test." It's like that. I said, "Was it your best? Did you do as good as you could?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Did you just study for it for 3 or 4 days before? Did you work on it for the week before?" Absolutely. I said, "Well, then that's exactly what you deserve to get. And now you know where you made your mistakes." He's like, "Well, yeah, but I missed the question and he gave me the question and he gave me the answer." I said, "So you learned the answer through the failure of the test." And so just trying to teach them how to do the ultimate. And I think in school today, we're not taught to be innovative. We're taught to sit down, be quiet, do your assignment. And if you get an A, you're a great person. You're doing a good job. And if you're getting a C or a D, there's totally screwed and there's something wrong with you. That's absolutely the most ridiculous thing known to man. One, you're not supposed to talk to anybody else in class. If I'm going to have an issue and I'm going to talk to somebody about making a conversation, and hey, you know what? I talked to you last week about this. You and I should collab on this and find out what we can both do better in our respective lives to be able to make this work. That's how the world works.
Right.
So they're teaching you a difference of going in and being a quiet, subdued employee that never fails and always living in fear of that fact versus being the person that's willing to go screw up. One of the reasons why a lot of your successful business owners are D and C students is because they told their whole life they were going to screw up, that they were going to fail. They'd never be or amount to anything.
Right.
So when they failed the first 5 times in business, it's what they'd already done.
What is the saying? The A and B students work for the C and D
students? Yeah, C and D students. Exactly.
Yeah.
The A and B students typically work for the B and C students because they went to college, got a great education, got a good job, but they're working for the guys that are used to failing because they weren't excited or knowledgeable on taking the risk or failing.
So with your kids though, and how old's Cameron?
Cameron's 21. So
21.
21. I have a 21, 11, 10, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Wow.
Yeah.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you tell? I mean, obviously you're self-employed. You have been for years. What do you? Because one of the things that we tried telling our kids. I mean, I don't say it all the time now, but I ask them like, "Hey guys, what did you fail at today?" And people are like, "Whoa, how dare you say that to them?" No. I don't mean like a "what'd you fail at." don't mean like that. I'm like, hey, what did you fail at today? What did you try new that you wanted to try something? Hey, if you fail, that's good. Failure's good.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
kind of what we push for our kids. But what do you do with your kiddos? Like, what's
something similar? We do. There's a lot of times where we'll sit down at the dinner table. So we have dinner at the table every night. And that's one of the benefits.
Be a big ass table.
It is. Well, we have an island and a table, and so the littles will sit at the island or in their high chairs, and then we have the main 6 bigs sitting at the table with us. And we go around the table, and what was the best part of your day today? Mm-hmm. What was the worst part? What do you think you failed at? And that's where it really gets interesting, because they start getting introspective, but usually it comes from a harsh message to themselves. Well, I screwed this up so bad, and our response is typically great. Yeah. Good job. Well, what do you mean? And it every time, even now that we've done it for years, it shocks them every time we do it. And so last night we did impressions of each other. So when I told my 11-year-old, I said, I want you to go and do an impression of your brother. And I want you to tell me what he would act like if he wasn't going to eat his food right now.
That's interesting.
And so then he would do this grandiose impression and being silly and get everybody laughing. And then I said, okay, well, now it's your turn. You do an impression of him not brushing his teeth, because you know how tough that's been this week. And then all of a sudden, here we go. And so by the time you get done, all 7 of the kids that are able to participate are just in a frenzy of laughter and hilarity, because they're making fun of everybody. And what happens when mom gets upset? What happens when dad gets upset? And so they get to vocalize and to act out those sort of things.
Because you do some acting too. So this is pre-auditioning.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm finding out which kid has the chops.
Okay. Awesome.
And I have a couple kids that really want to be artists. So we draw all the time. I draw and paint. I think I've told you that before. But I get the kids out, and we'll sit down and put paper out with everybody at the islands and some Sharpies and some markers. And tonight we're going to draw something unique, and I want everybody to draw the same thing. I want to see how it turns out. Mm-hmm. And so the other night we did a drawing.
A portrait of you, a portrait of Dad.
Yeah. Well, this was more. So we did a cat on a banana. Okay. So just something random. Right. But we're keeping the picture so they can add to it later. So the next time we do the drawing night, which will be next week, we'll sit down and say, okay, now that you did that, I need a dog on a sandwich battling this cat on a banana. So it's getting them to think outside of the box. It doesn't always have to be just a cat. It doesn't have to be a dog, but do something different inside of that nature and make it unique to you. And every picture, when they look at each one, they go, oh, that's what you decided to do. And so it opens up the ideas and the flow to their brain. We're
going to have to start a new show, just the Mitchells. It's just in the life of the Mitchells.
I hear that all the time. They always wonder what we do, 100%.
But circling this back around to the financial stuff, I mean, obviously I would be thinking, or people are probably wondering, is Chad going to put all these kids through college? Do you think about that? Is college a waste of money? And the reason I asked this is I just got back from Tucson just a couple days ago, seeing my brother. And I'm literally, the waitress comes, she sets a beer down in front of me, and then I get an email that's saying all my student loans were canceled because the school that I went to was supposedly ripping off people. And I won't mention the names or anything.
It doesn't matter,
But I was joking about it because I thought, I mean, I called the school at one point just facetiously saying, hey, can I get a refund? I haven't used my degree yet. So, I kind of just did.
Hey, that's fantastic. That's the best way to do it.
But do you think, being a business owner, being a successful realtor, you don't have to go to college to be a realtor and you make
Absolutely
a lot of money?
Absolutely not,
You don't have to go to school to be an IBO and Amway,
You don't have to go to school. You have to get an education. Now, the education is different. Right? If you go and get educated in whatever field, you want to be a day trader, you want to trade stocks, you want to work with Amway, if you want to go and be a real estate agent, you have an education regardless. Right. It's not college, but it is an education. You have to learn the skills. Yeah, there's a different type of learning involved. There's also things that I fail at miserably all the time. Marketing, advertising on my own. Absolutely not. I have people that do it with me and for me so I can learn daily bits and pieces on how to do it on my own. Mm-hmm. So am I advising my children to go to college? It specifically depends upon what they want to do and what kind of child they are. I've got one kid, he's 8 years old. Absolutely the smartest kid I've ever seen at his age. Mm-hmm. He's the top of his class. He's highly intelligent, beats video games in a 4, 5, 6 hour period that it took my 21-year-old 3 or 4 days to beat.
Right.
Where his thought process on algorithms and things like that is top notch, almost autistic. And it's borderline jaw-dropping, the things he's able to calculate in his head.
Mm-hmm.
So if he said,
little
hey,
Rain Man?
Yeah. And if he said, hey, Dad, should I go out and be in sales? With the way that he talks to people right now, that's not his gig, dude.
That's not his lane.
No, but he might be the coolest chemical engineer you've ever seen. And so if he gets to the point when he's 18 years old, he's like, Dad, I figured out what I want to do. Well, what is it? Well, I'm going to go do X, Y, Z. I'm going to try to find the best school, trade school, or college, what have you, education that he can gather. And if that's through AI and Chat GPT by then, maybe that's what we'll do. I don't think you have to go to college, but if you have a specific set of something you want to do, if you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, be an attorney down the road that is specific in a genre, a divorce attorney, which sounds miserable to me, but if you want to do that,
probably great business.
You have to go to school.
Yeah.
You have to. There's no choice. So I wouldn't ever take away that opportunity for any of the kids.
You wouldn't push it, but you wouldn't knock on it.
No, absolutely. If somebody said, hey, Dad, I want to be a police officer, I'm going to do whatever it takes to help them become a police officer.
Yeah.
Scares the heck out of me.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's not exactly the field I'd choose for them, but if they have a passion for something, I'm not going to take away the passion.
I've got a buddy, he's a detective we're going to have on probably in a couple of weeks, just talking about being a cop and some of the stereotypical stuff that you run into. And I mean, I can't imagine being a cop right now.
Oh.
Especially a year or 2 years ago with the whole Floyd. I mean,
I think hopefully it'll get a little bit better over this next few years, but it's the legacy media has painted the people that are in blue in a horrible fashion.
Yeah.
You don't see the ones that are the true heroes. You see the guys that are out there making a quick trigger mistake in a situation that they probably should have never been in the first place, or that they were called to unbeknownst to them.
Right.
That sort of thing.
The reason I was asking about college and stuff, because you led right into it with AI. I mean, I really I get anxious about it. I mean, it's exciting, the stuff that it's going to be able to do. Maybe you start mapping, the genome and identify, parts of your DNA that would cause, some of the things that you were telling us about with your kids and stuff. Mm-hmm. So some of the advancements I think it's going to be with the medical field and whatnot, it's going to be astounding.
Amazing. Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
But it also makes me worry, like, well, how many jobs are going to disappear, or what if somebody, I had to issue a cease and desist letter probably 2 months ago. I won't go to the story. It was an agent trying to steal back business, but I just used ChatGPT. I thought, okay. Initially, I thought I'm going to call my attorney, get this issue. I'm like, wait, I'm just going to
put this in and see what comes out.
ChatGPT, bam, it came out. And I thought, wow, that sounds really good, and it worked great. So I'm just wondering, like, are a lot of those fields going to disappear, and what do we do? I mean, with kids, obviously, hopefully you win the lottery, so to speak, with like we were joking about before we started. Yeah. And one of your kids becomes a billionaire and takes care of you. I'm kidding.
Well, and that's,
kidding, obviously, but
obviously I'd love for my children to be hugely successful, but I think I'm, the internal drive inside me to set the example is, that is the most important thing. Yeah. And it's not even necessarily work hard, it's work smart.
Yeah.
I've never been I love working hard. And when I have the opportunity, I put my head down and I'll grind out just about whatever you can possibly put in front of me. I do at this age not have the same desire I did at 25 to want to put my head down into something that makes me feel like I'm running my head into a wall. And I think there's a lot of those opportunities out there where people will say, oh, if you come with me and if you do this and you do that, then you'll be successful. And you figure out pretty quickly that that's not the case.
Define successful too.
That's impossible. But to most people, it's cars and money and houses and things like that. When you really realize that freedom is the ultimate deal breaker, that it's not about the cars anymore. It's about being able to hug all my babies until I want to go to work at 10 or 12 and setting all my appointments around that. I mean, there's nothing quite like playing with a newborn or sitting with your 2-year-old and teaching them how to draw with a crayon for the first time, And so my children are definitely going to be different thinkers. I can guarantee that based on the way that I bring the information to the table. When they tell me, oh man, I did poorly on this one test in school, or Dad, do you think school is important? I don't particularly think school itself is important. I think what you learn there isn't necessarily about history. I don't care about George Washington. The social aspect to a certain degree, but think about it. We live in our own village already anyways.
Right.
They would get enough social interaction just from being at home. Now, do I want to keep them in homeschool? There's a big part of me that thinks that might be the next step, especially for my younger ones, depending upon what happens in the next few years. But is that the most productive for some of the kids? Absolutely not. There's 2 or 3 that the social aspect is paramount to their happiness and their enjoyment of daily life.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to take that away, even if I had to find a different venue or avenue to do that. You realize I spend most of my time around children that are at my kneecaps.
Right now.
I'm chilling, dude.
You want
I'm
a beer?
Good. Nope, I'm good. I'm totally good. I actually don't drink, so I don't.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, because imagine if I did drink and tomorrow morning I woke up with a hangover with 6 toddlers. Does that sound like fun?
I would not have thought of that. Yeah.
100%.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so it's not that I don't enjoy a drink every now and then. I don't drink, if you know what I mean. Like, I'll go out and have a martini like 3 times a year. But if I have 4 or 5 of those and I wake up the next morning having to change 6 diapers